stress that just because you have boundaries, you also don't owe anybody an explanation for those boundaries. So I'm Erica. I'm a little fucked up as per usual. Blah, 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 blah. So anyway. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have filmed this intro like multiple times. There's construction going on outside of my house, so I do apologize, which is also why it's taking me a while to film this video. I'm thinking that I'm gonna put out content in the beginning of the week, so hopefully that will reign true. This is Hayes, who's sleeping behind me, and yeah, today's video, we're gonna get into it. It's gonna be about self-care. But before we get started, as always, I just want to let you guys know that I do a podcast every Friday with my best friend of 19 years. We put out a podcast every Friday. Our podcast is called Unpack Filth. I'll leave it in the description. And in addition to that, make sure you like and comment on this video if you want to see more content like this. So let's get into it. I am ready. So self-care has been a hot topic in the realms of like new age spirituality. Self-care is essentially doing things, I like to call it rituals, that help you recenter and focus your thoughts. Self-care prioritizes the things that you need to be whole and healthy, and there's a lot of different articles that you can read on it. For me, self-care is essential. It is vital to my survival as a being, for my from like my spiritual sanity, to be honest. It's one of those things where if you feel out of control in your life, you can take back some of that control and put into something that's a little bit more structure, even if it's for a few minutes a day. A lot of the things that I talk about in like my previous videos, where I had to grow and learn more about myself as an individual and be comfortable, a lot of that happened through self-care. Self-care is giving yourself confidence. Self-care is giving yourself really, you're believing in yourself to have some type of clarity or intention in the things that you do. In the world that we live in, we sometimes are taught to put our own needs and wants and desires to the wayside, and self-care is a healthy way of making sure that in the midst of doing all that for your loved ones and being self-sacrificing, being a lamb, if you will, self-care is a way to bring it back to yourself. I am kind of a new age spiritualist. I do a little bit of tarot. I do a little bit of ritual surrounding the elements and the moon and etc. Some might call me a witch, but I don't know about you guys, but in the realms of healing, I left a really long-term relationship that left me kind of in upside down for many years. So one easy thing that you can do for self-care is you can prioritize doing baths, or if you're in the woo-woo side of things, we call it a spiritual bath. So I personally like to get bath bomb, any type of natural bubble baths, sometimes even some rose petals. You can just do a basic bath bomb if you want. Really get everything all sudsy. My favorite bath bombs are from Lush. If you don't like Lush, there's bath bombs everywhere. You can get them at the damn grocery store. I typically like to do with my baths is I light candles and have some really cool music. When I was in my old house, I had a bath pillow that I just kind of like laid and luxuriated in the bath. It is my favorite thing to do. And grab some wine if you are not a sober person like myself. So another thing that you can do for self-care is, I mentioned in one of my videos, taking yourself out to eat and prioritizing doing things like that. So what I used to do once a week, I worked a really hectic job at like 50, almost 60 hours a week every week, and on my days off I would go take myself out to lunch or dinner or both, and make sure that I order myself an appetizer, something like an entree, and maybe a dessert if I'm feeling really frisky, and a drink. And that's how I treat myself. So for those of you who struggle with like over shopping or things like that, or if you just eat out too much, one way to really streamline is to maybe have a designated day throughout the week to take yourself out. You can go with others, but self-care is more so prioritizing and recentering yourself. So what I typically like to do is go out by myself, kind of like, have some quiet, if you want to disconnect from technology, you can do that as well. Have a really fabulous meal, pay for it and go home. Another thing I like to do for self-care is prioritizing skincare, and with me, I really like things regarding beauty. Typically prioritize getting like a really nice moisturizer, a really good cleanser, and I have invested in a steamer. I'm gonna go get it and I'll show you in 1 second. So this steamer, she has saved my life, literally. She does hot and cold. It's from Conair. So Conair has, I think, well, the ones that I've seen 2 different ones, this pink one and a blue one. This was 20 bucks at TJ Maxx, so it's not expensive. So it's one thing that I would like to do when I like do like a really good face cleanse. And then I'll wear like a mask, and then I'll sit in the steamer for like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the stress levels of life. And that's one great way to offer yourself self-care. If you don't have a steamer, you can pop on a mask when you're in the shower and let the natural steam from the hot shower work as well. Whatever you want to do, I mean, it's your face. Another thing that I like to do is prioritize anything cleansing. So this is a little bit more on the woo-woo side. So for me, I participate in moon rituals, so that's like full moon, new moon, and anything like that concerning what's going on in astrology. What I like to do is take some type of smoke cleanse. So there's a debate going on around sage. If you don't want to use sage, I use something like Palo Santo, or what's the other thing called? I can't think of it right now, but maybe I'll pop it on the screen somewhere. What I like to do is take some type of cleansing agent. So I'll clean my room or clean my living room space, kitchen, whatever, and then like cleanse the space. Sometimes if I'm feeling super woo-woo, sometimes if I'm feeling like I want to do like something extra, I'll cleanse the space and then kind of meditate in the smoke. You can also light incense if your apartment or home doesn't allow that, or people are really sensitive to smells. What you could do is you know, do like a candle. If they don't like candles, then I don't recommend smoke at all. Comment down below if you have an alternative to living quarters where you're not allowed to have smoke. I live in Boston, so some of the things that you can and cannot do in apartments can vary, so just depends on where you live. And that's one of the things I like to do for self-care, is really like cleanse, sit, and meditate. Also, you can do yoga, anything kind of solitary and something that you can do for yourself. Some people prioritize self-care as making sure that you read maybe a chapter a night before you go to bed. That's self-care in whatever book that you choose. I read a lot of fantasy novels, and I'm sort of getting to learning more about spiritual stuff, so I picked a few of those books up. Once I read them, I might talk about them in a later video. And another thing that you can do for self-care is to exercise. So some people, if you like to exercise, I like to go to the gym. I for the most part don't really like lifting weights, just because it takes a lot of discipline, and I feel like if I don't do something correctly or don't have the proper form, I don't like doing it. So the easiest thing for me to do is run. I personally like to run every now and then. I've gotten out of it within the last couple of years because I do all this other stuff surrounding self-care. But if you are an avid you know, gym enthusiast or athlete, how I used to be, then I would recommend doing some type of workout. So I live in a city, so it's quite easy to just run, go to the park, be outdoors. But if you live somewhere rural, like where I'm from, maybe you can try to do something like in your driveway or in your garage, in your living room, especially since there's so many workout channels on YouTube, you can figure that out, I'm sure. Another thing I like to do for self-care is I like to sit in silence. So I'm an introvert. If you're an extrovert, you might not really like this idea, but sitting in silence after a long day of work, and then listening to like a little bit of music, but sitting in silence for at least 10 to 15 minutes. My camera cut out, sorry. But anyway, so sitting in silence for 10 to 15 minutes helped me decompress. So if you're an introvert, a lot of the things that we like to do and need to do for our mental sanity is to decompress and sit in silence. Now, I'm a single person, as I say in each video. If you have a family, I can't technically relate if you have like a spouse or loved ones or children or whatever, but if you can find time to sit in yourself. I know some people, some parents during quarantine that I saw on my social media, a lot of them would like to sit in their cars for a second while like they hide from their kids, quote unquote. So if you need to, sit in your car for 15 minutes if you can. So I also wanted to give you guys some tips on how to practice self-care when interacting with loved ones. So a lot of our people that we have in our lives that love us and care about us, a lot of times they don't like when we enforce boundaries. If you listen to last Friday's episode, you'll know that we did an episode on boundaries. Boundaries essentially are for you. It's not necessarily for people to react to or to make people feel a certain type of way. Boundaries are for you to maintain that healthy communication and healthy dynamic within your mind space. Boundaries are essentially saying, I will and will not do this. I will not tolerate this. One, if you do X, you will respond with Y and Z. Okay. Interacting with loved ones can be a little bit difficult because sometimes people think that just because they know you and interact with you on a daily basis, or your friends or you're a significant other, however, that they have access to you with basically no rules. Like, it's not just lawless out here in these streets. Like, you know, you have to tell people like what you will and will not do and what you are comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. And I also want to stress that just because you have boundaries, you also don't owe anybody an explanation for those boundaries. So if you're one of those people that feel like, for example, if you tell somebody no, you don't have to explain why you're saying no. You can just say, no, don't want to do that, or you know, no, or I'll think about it. But also the responsibility of having boundaries is that you should set the expectation for people. So for example, if you are in the middle of your self-care and you're having a rough time and you don't necessarily feel like talking with people, I would recommend those people who are reaching out to you, just say, hey, I don't really feel like chatting lately, or I don't really feel like responding to this text message. I can circle back around to this at a later time. If they ask why, you don't really have to give them an explanation. You can just say like, you know, listen, it's nothing against you. Like, hey, expect me really not to respond to your text message, or expect me not to really answer the phone right now. I'm just going through what I'm going through, and that's your business. I would also challenge you with self-care to make sure that you are thoroughly communicating with yourself. The way that I do that is through journaling. So I'll write down a statement and I'll write down why this statement happened or why I'm feeling this way. And I pretty much ask myself why until I can gain clarity. So for some people that might be extra to write down, but I enjoy journaling. I enjoy playing the why game with myself. And it's something that I do to kind of hold myself accountable and keep myself in check with my emotions and with my thoughts and feelings. A way to practice your self-care is to really sit with yourself and sit with those emotions and figure out why you're feeling the way that you feel. In addition to all like the fun, carefree things I did, like bubble baths and, you know, smoke cleansing and things like that. You can do that any way that you really want to. So the reason why I made this video is because there's so much crazy stuff happening in the world. I mean, I don't have to say, you know, I don't have to get too much into detail, and your way of life is kind of disrupted. In addition to that, I mean, there's uprising. I just want to let you know that we should first and foremost support each other and find ways that are not only beneficial to us, but also have some compassion. Even if you don't understand someone's thought process or way of life, I would hope that you would have the compassion. I hope that is inspiring. I hope that somebody watches this video and maybe try some self-care tips. I definitely miss the days of YouTube where you can just kind of sit in front of your camera, connect with people, and build a community. So if that is something that you want to do, join the family here on my channel, and I will be sure to interact with you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that the rest of your day and the rest of your week goes extremely well and beautiful. So I know I'm a little fucked up, but I had to like bring it down so you guys can understand that, you know, we all have levels to ourselves and we're all dynamic. And if no one's told you today, you're beautiful, amazing, talented, and you're worthy. Okay. And like I said, subscribe, become a part of the community. I would love to interact with more of you guys. And thanks. I'll talk to you later. I'm kicking myself because I didn't wear lipstick in the video, but I didn't want to deprive you guys of greatness. So thanks for watching.